The annual Turner Classic Movie Film Festival was canceled this year due to the pandemic of coronavirus 19, but the good people over at Turner Classic Movies came up with a great idea, a special home edition of the Turner Classic Movie Film Festival, which highlights the films and interviews over the past 10 years. And joining me now on a conference call is TCM host Ben Mankiewicz, Vice President of Programming, Senior Programming, Charlie Tabesh, and of course, TCM General Manager, Pola Changnon. And my first question is for Pola. If the home edition is a great success, could it be a complement to future Turner Classic Movie Film Festivals?
Hi. It's such a good question. This certainly isn't the game plan we had in mind earlier this year. And we're glad we're able to execute something that is this robust in such a short amount of time. The team has done an amazing job, super creative, super collaborative, and working, through the challenge of doing all of this from home. We're going to learn a lot. We expect we'll all take notes during the weekend to see how people respond in social or in other communication back to us. Because I think there's probably some real learning for us. We know that not everybody can ever, make it out to the festival. That's just not possible. So if there are ways for us to bring a sense of this to folks in different ways that make sense for us, we'd love to do that. So I've kind of said that for all of us, let's be open to the feedback. Let's learn from it so that we can do versions of this in the future. For us, again, this is sort of, what's the expression, more information than anyone needs to know in terms of how the sausage is made. But we are at a great luxury in that we do not carry advertising on the network, so we don't have to have ratings. So for us, a lot of the feedback that we get from our fans across social or to the website or, people still do the old-fashioned call us or email us, that adds up to a lot. And then I think, honestly, it's also how we feel about it. Do we feel it represents the brand as we want it to be enjoyed? Do we feel like it did something that was, sort of in proportion to the amount of work required? All those kind of things that we've gotten pretty good at evaluating. And then, frankly, knowing it's something that folks like you are interested in talking to us about matters a lot, too, because we want to make sure what we're doing is recognized beyond the folks who are watching the network on any given day. We want to make sure we're getting the word out there that this is a place, if you like classic movies or you want to learn more about classic movies, this is a place to spend some time.
Now, Ben, over the past 10 years, you've done many interviews for Turner Classic Movies and for the Film Festival. Which was your most memorable? And also, which one really helped elevate your career?
Well, there are so many directions that I could take that answer. So I'll give you my first big interview ever at the festival, and then the one that probably has impacted my career the most or impacted my life the most. Those are actually different answers. So the first, TCM, first really big assignment they gave me, where they finally came around to, hey, all right, he's only sort of an idiot. I think we can give him something important to do. They gave me Mickey Rooney at Charlie. What was that? First festival?
Early. You just mean the second one. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mickey Rooney at and it was at the Egyptian Theater. And I mean, if you want to list the stars who are going to get the biggest round of applause from a TCM crowd, Mickey Rooney is in the top tier. I mean, so he comes out on stage and the Egyptian is packed. And I don't remember which movie we were going to show, but it was a Mickey Judy Garland movie. And so come on, and then just the reaction is overwhelming, right? I mean, I get caught up. It's like, in a sense, I'm a big Springsteen fan. I get the feeling, I'm like, this is what it's like for them coming out on stage. Love, this outpouring of love for Mickey is amazing. And I'm nervous because it's Mickey Rooney. And we start the interview, and it's going okay. But, Mickey became a man of a deep faith, which gave him a tremendous amount of peace later in his life. That also involves some proselytizing from time to time, and he got a little carried away given the event. Well, first of all, before the event, he said he didn't want to talk about Judy Garland. And I was like, well, that's interesting because we're showing a Mickey Judy Garland movie. And I was like, hey, Mickey, this is about celebrating you and Judy. It's not about this is not the Renee Zellweger portrayal of Judy, which, by the way, was wonderful. But this is just love with Judy. So he came around to that. So he gets up on, so he's on stage, and then he starts, he's doing his missionary work again, which I love that it gave him some peace because he had all those troubles late in life. But he stands up and he starts, sort of delivering, he's preaching. And, the crowd is not, I'm worried about him, and they were a little bit worried about him. And it was just awkward. It wasn't the right time for that. There is a time for that, but it probably wasn't here. And I don't really know how to change this to get him. And I'm sitting. I don't really want to stand with him. I can't figure out what to do. And as I'm trying to make some decision and politely interrupt, because this means a lot to Mickey, and it's Mickey Rooney, and he should, he has the floor. He looks at me and he says, "Do you know Jesus?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I played basketball against him at the Jewish Community Center when I was growing up." And the crowd laughed, and Mickey laughed, and then he said, "Oh my God, I'm monopolizing your interview." And he touched my knee and sat down, and then we had a great interview. And I just developed this enormous wealth of overwhelming sense of gratitude to him for doing that. And it was awesome after that. And then we went off to the thunderous ovation, and I thought, okay, wow, maybe I can handle this. And it was a nice feeling for me. It gave me a significant amount of confidence. And then most meaningful life-wise is just developing a meaningful friendship with so many of these people. I'm incredibly close to Norman Lloyd, 105 years old, and to be able to call him a friend is an honor. And then really nice friendships with, Eva Marie Saint and Mel Brooks, and they all originated with either the festival or festival-related events. And there are many others, but those two in particular stand out as meaningful to me, and that has not just helped my career, that's just changed my life. To be able to be close to those people means so much to me.
Now, Paul, would you consider these special home editions to expand the programming, maybe do weekends with special themes like movies from the 60s or horror films or science fiction?
Yeah, great question. I think, this is such a new area for us to experiment and hopefully innovate a bit, both in terms of how we certainly Charlie and his team program on the network, but also how we sort of flesh out a larger idea that can deliver on that promise of feeling like a festival for a community. I think we're gonna need to see what our scorecard is at the end of the weekend. We'll all do a good job, I think, of trying to be objective about what worked, what we could improve on. We'll look to see how our fans are engaging over the weekend, too, in terms of social platforms. They're always really great about, I think, honestly telling us what's going well, what we could improve on. And then we'll see. I mean, Charlie's got such an incredible plan for the year overall in terms of programming that, if anything, this might be something that we look at, further down the road. But let us know what you think. I think there's going to be a lot of learning for us, and I'm sure for Charlie as well on the programming side.
And Charlie, past festivals have always had the premiere of restored prints, and a lot of those films that were shown at the festival ended up on Turner Classic Movies many months later. With the cancellation, will that impact any future movies to be on TCM next year?
Great question. No, I don't think there's anything specific that we are not going to have later in the year that we would have had at this festival. The restoration work had already been done on anything that we were planning to premiere, and those films will be available to us. So no, nothing like no impact in that way. I do think sort of a tangent to that point is there are a lot of things that we have played over the years at the film festival, premieres or new restorations or discoveries that we did try to fit into this weekend. So, for example, we premiered the restoration of Metropolis, and it included the found footage from South America, and we're playing that this weekend. And we're doing a collection of Vitaphone shorts that were put together by Ron Hutchinson and that played at our film festival. And so there are things like that are sprinkled throughout this weekend that we premiered or played over the years at the film festival, but there's nothing, I don't think, that we're sacrificing for on air because of this year's film festival not happening live.
And Paula, any update on people attending the TCM cruise this year, or maybe how the pandemic will affect the outcome of that festival?
Well, as you can imagine, we're watching that situation carefully and communicating regularly with our Disney partners who manage the cruise business. We are right now, I'd say, cautiously optimistic that things are going to get better for fall. But, this is such an unknown territory for any of us, and we want to do right by people who've already booked the cruise. We want to take care of them and watch out for them. And I'd have to say right now we don't, unfortunately, have the ability to commit to one direction or the other at this point. We're just in really a wait and watch position. And frankly, we're trying to do our best to communicate with our booked passengers as we know more.
And I was on a call this morning about just for programming for the cruise, knowing that we don't know what's going to happen, but we're still doing the work required to anticipate the possibility of it happening, not knowing either way.
Now, I've been going to TCM Fest for the past 10 years, and I spend a small fortune on merchandise. Is there any merchandise from the 2020 Film Festival that will make it online? Was any completed?
It's such a great question. We make some, really amazing merchandise and have so much fun with that. I think this year, once we made our decision, again, a little over a month ago, there were a lot of things we were able to pull out of production. There might be some things coming out of this. It's so funny. It's like I think some of the strategy this year was to do a little less that had the date attached to it, just by coincidence. So I'd say there probably will be some things trickling through. I don't think that they'll actually be available on this. Can we get back to you on that? Because I'm not sure they might be available on the site very soon.
Now, Ben, you're a film critic. I'm a film critic. We're both members of the CCA. Just quick thoughts on how the award season is going to pan out this year with so many films being canceled or pushed back to next year?
Look, for people who love movies, the award season is important. The Academy is a partner of ours, and obviously the Academy Awards really, with all due respect to the Critics' Choice Academy, the only award show of which I'm a member, Broadcast Film Critics, is, the Academy is the only one that really has a history that matters. I'm sure they're discussing it. I would imagine that they're discussing whether to change the rules a little bit this year to make them a little more lax to account for really some quality movies that are now being released, on demand instead of in theaters. So obviously there'd have to be some change. And conversely, look, the NCAA tournament was canceled, and if there has to be a year where there is no Academy Awards, then there would be a year with no Academy Awards. It's okay. We maintain our history even if we have to disrupt its flow from time to time. But that said, we're talking about February of 2021. So as Pola said with the cruise, I think I imagine the Academy is cautiously optimistic about being able to proceed. But I would be personally surprised if they didn't change the rules. And, the Academy leads the way, so I imagine that other award shows will follow real quick. You just have to balance that against, look, I watch all these shows, and I love them, but, it is Hollywood congratulating itself, and I think you have to be mindful of the world we live in and whether that tone, as was the case after 9/11 and the way that show was reshaped, whether the tone ought to be different. By the way, there's no question the tone ought to be different. So, there's some thinking that comes out of that. But as was the case with us, changes breed creativity. So I imagine that, I'm very confident the Academy will make the right decision, whatever it is, and they'll come up with something smart and good.
Now, Charlie, as Senior VP of Programming, was it a challenge to get films from past TCM Film Fest to broadcast on TV versus a live performance?
Well, so you asked the key question, because that was one of the reasons that it's, if you think about just transferring what we do on live to television, it's impossible because the rights are very different. We can get rights to things in either direction that we couldn't get the other way, or prints or material. So there are a lot of things planned for this year that we wouldn't have the rights to do. Planned for this year's live festival that we wouldn't have had the rights to put on television. And in a way that helped sort of focus what we could do for the on-air festival, because we started with the pool of films that we had the rights to, knowing we wouldn't have a lot of time to go out and try to license other things or find certain films, or knowing certain things wouldn't be available. So starting with the pool of things that we did have the rights to made it a little more manageable. And I think you can see still, quite robust and with a lot of films from a lot of different places, a lot of different studios, and a lot of different genres. But you're right. You can't just take something that you're playing at the film festival live and put it on air.
Oh yeah, definitely. We have some of those scheduled, and I think Alicia and Dave are doing some as well. We're recording a number of videos, which will go on social media, on YouTube and Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We have a YouTube channel. And some watch parties, some live tweeting. I mean, I don't think we have a solid decision yet, but we're looking at. I was looking at The Hustler and Network as a couple that I'd like to do. I was very sorry to lose the tribute and the conversation with Piper Laurie, an actor who I've admired for a long time. Love her work, obviously. Love her work in The Hustler. So, and my wife and I just got finished watching, Empire Falls and Nobody's Fool, so we're sort of in the middle of a Paul Newman love affair, making up two of 58 million people currently having a Paul Newman love affair in America. So a lot of that, but a ton of videos too, a ton of festival memories from me and Alicia and Jacqueline and Dave, or even letting Eddie have a couple, although we may not air them, No, so all five of us, and we have and we're gonna open the festival on Thursday with all five hosts. We're going to have a Zoom call, which we're going to share with people, and where we again talk about festival memories and some of those moments you guys asked about, sort of moments of exhilaration from meeting someone, moments of terror where you think you're about to make a fool of yourself. So there's some really good stuff that we're putting on social media, online to augment the programming that Charlie has developed for the festival.
One of the greatest comedies I ever discovered when I was a child was What's Up, Doc? I'm a huge fan of Paper Moon. Can you give us a little behind the scenes of the interviews you did with Peter Bogdanovich?
Well, let me jump in first, Charlie. Yes, we taped them. We did I think it was a Skype interview with Peter, which is just fun getting a guy like Peter to do Skype. And then he's setting up the shot. And so I'm saying, Peter, you're a little close, and I liked a little harsh. I think you might want to move the camera a little further back, get some more depth. And then it occurs to me what I'm doing, like directing Peter Bogdanovich to get the shot right. And I'm like, Peter, I'm going to shut up now. So Peter was scheduled to introduce movies of his every Saturday night all month when we put this home festival, and we had to lose one of those days because the Saturday is devoted to the festival. But we still managed to get Peter, who was so willing, to join us that Saturday night of the festival. He'll be talking about Casablanca, a movie he loves and knows a ton about, and The Magnificent Ambersons, which gives him a chance to talk about his unique, interesting, and meaningful relationship with Orson Welles, who just, basically lived with Peter for the better part of 3 years with Peter and Sybil Shepherd. And we're doing that all in advance of releasing TCM's first ever podcast, The Plot Thickens, Season 1. I'm still Peter Bogdanovich. That's coming up in 2 weeks from today, April 28th. We're really proud of it. I think it's really good. I'm the host. 15 hours of interviews with Peter, Frank Marshall also in it, Sybil Shepherd in it, Roger Corman, and others. So I think we've got a really well-rounded story of Peter's incredible life of peaks and valleys, of successes and failures, of arrogance and humility. I confess I don't want to. I'm not partial. I love Peter. I admire him so much, and I admire his sort of growth. So we're really excited about the podcast. So shooting those interviews and those intros with Peter, which will include little sound bites from the podcast, including this weekend for both Casablanca and Ambersons. And then Peter joins us after each movie. So incredibly rewarding.
For the idea of including Peter over this weekend, because he called me and said, hey, why don't we use Peter? We've got him, he's there every Saturday night throughout the month. Why can't we have him do a couple of films over the weekend? It was a great suggestion. And I think he adds a lot to those two films.
Peter has always, he's been, I think, at 3 festivals, and he is always a hit. Nobody tells a story quite like Peter Bogdanovich.
Well, thank you all for your time today. Don't forget to watch the Turner Classic Movies Home Special Edition, April 16th through the 19th. I'm Jeffrey K. Howard in Las Vegas. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time.